Sophia stood in a courthouse hallway in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, turned her face toward the bailiff like she was posing for a picture, and said loud enough for strangers to hear, "I'm just trying to protect my kid from my controlling husband." Then she looked right at Daniel and smiled, small, sharp, satisfied, like humiliating him was part of the plan. People stared. A woman in line shook her head at Daniel like he'd already been convicted. Sophia didn't whisper. She didn't soften it. She let the word controlling hang on him like a stain he couldn't wash off. Here's how it happened. Daniel wasn't perfect, but he was steady. The kind of man who kept receipts, kept promises, kept the oil changed, kept his voice calm even when his chest felt like it had rocks inside. He thought that was what love looked like. Consistency. He didn't know Sophia had started treating his loyalty like weakness. He didn't know she'd decided the story of their marriage would end with him painted as a villain. By the time he realized, she was already rehearsed, already collecting sympathy, already collecting exit plans. Daniel and Sophia met years ago at a friend's cookout in Bowie. She wore a bright yellow sundress and laughed with her whole body, head thrown back like she wasn't scared of joy. Daniel was the shy one, posted up by the grill, pretending to be intensely focused on flipping chicken like it was a NASA mission. Sophia walked over, looked at his serious face, and said, "You know that chicken can feel your fear, right?" He blinked. She grinned. He laughed so hard he almost dropped the tongs. That laugh is what hooked him first. Their early days were sweet in a regular way. Target runs, late-night drives, arguing about music like it mattered. Daniel would bring Sophia lemon pepper wings from a spot in D.C., and she'd act like he'd hunted them himself. One time, he tried to be romantic and set up candles in his apartment, but he used the cheap ones from the dollar store and the whole place smelled like vanilla regret. Sophia came in, sniffed, and said, "Baby, did you light a cupcake on fire?" He was embarrassed. She kissed his cheek anyway, laughing into his skin. They built a life that looked normal from the outside. Little townhouse, family photos, matching pajamas one Christmas that Sophia insisted on even though Daniel said grown men shouldn't have rain dew on their legs. They had kids. Daniel learned how to braid hair from YouTube, sitting behind a patient little head while Sophia coached. "Not that tight. You trying to snatch her edges?" He'd roll his eyes, and she'd laugh, and for a while it felt like teamwork. Daniel worked early mornings, came home tired, still read bedtime stories like it was sacred. The shift didn't happen in one dramatic explosion. It was slow, like water leaking under a door until your socks are wet and you're mad but can't find the source. Sophia started guarding her phone like it was a newborn. If Daniel asked a simple question, "What time are you coming home?" she'd answer like he accused her of a crime. "Why are you monitoring me?" she'd snap. He'd stand there holding a dish towel, confused. Monitoring. That word didn't belong in their kitchen. But Sophia liked words that made her sound like a victim and him like a threat. It got worse at social stuff. At a cousin's birthday in D.C., Daniel asked Sophia, quietly, if they could leave soon because he had work early. Sophia laughed, turned to the table, and said, he's giving me a curfew again." People chuckled. Someone said, "Free Sophia," like it was a joke. Daniel's smile froze on his face. He looked down at his plate like it suddenly became interesting. Later in the car, he said, "Why would you say that?" Sophia shrugged. "If it hurts, maybe it's true," she said, casual as weather. Daniel tried to fix it the way he fixed everything. More effort, more patience, more softness. He planned a date night in National Harbor, thinking romance could pull them back. He booked dinner, got a babysitter, even wore cologne Sophia used to love. At the restaurant, he reached across the table and said, "I miss us." Sophia's eyes stayed on her phone. "I miss my freedom," she replied. Then she looked up and smiled at the waiter like she had all the warmth in the world, just not for Daniel. He felt his throat tighten around words that wouldn't come out. Sophia started taking trips that didn't make sense. Girls' weekend in Atlanta, she said, packing fast. Work conference in Tyson's, she said, wearing a new dress Daniel had never seen. Daniel asked for details, normal husband questions, and Sophia acted like he was interrogating her. "You don't trust me," she snapped. "You're controlling." Daniel tried to explain it wasn't control, it was confusion. But Sophia didn't want understanding. She wanted a label, a weapon, something she could throw at him in public when she wanted him quiet. Then came abandonment. One afternoon Daniel came home and the house felt wrong. Too empty, too still. The kids' shoes were gone from by the door. Sophia's favorite mug was missing. Her side of the closet looked like a mouth with teeth pulled out. On the counter was a note that felt colder than any shout. Don't contact me. I need space. The kids are safe. Safe. Like Daniel was dangerous. He called. No answer. He texted. No response. He drove around like a man who lost something precious and didn't know where to search. He found out they were at Sophia's mother's place in Baltimore County because his oldest child slipped and answered a call on a tablet. Daddy, the kid whispered, and Daniel's whole body flooded with relief and pain at the same time. Then Sophia's voice cut in like a blade. Why are you calling? Don't. You're stressing them out. Daniel drove there anyway. He sat in his car down the street, watching lights in the window, imagining his kids eating dinner without him. When Sophia's brother came outside, he didn't wave. He just stayed at Daniel like Daniel was dirt on the sidewalk. A week later, Daniel got served divorce papers at work like a punch that waited until he felt safe to land. A coworker handed him an envelope with that awkward sympathy face people make when they don't want to be involved. Daniel opened it in his car and read lines that didn't sound like his life. Sophia claimed he controlled finances, controlled her movements, isolated her, made her fear for her safety. Daniel stayed at the words until they blurred. He wanted to scream, but he was in a parking lot under a cloudy sky and grown men don't get permission to fall apart. The first hearing felt unreal. Upper Marlborough's courthouse smelled like old carpet and stress. Daniel sat alone on a hard bench. Sophia walked in dressed like she was going to brunch. Hair neat, nails fresh, perfume bright. She didn't look at him like a person she once loved. She looked at him like a problem she was proud to solve. Her mother sat behind her with arms crossed, face tight with judgment. Daniel's own friend, the one who said he'd come, texted last minute. Something came up. Bro, praying for you. Daniel wanted to throw the phone through the wall. Sophia spoke in court like she'd practiced in a mirror. He tracked my location. He questioned every purchase. His controlling, she said, voice steady, eyes shining like she was brave. Daniel tried to speak, but his thoughts tripped over each other. He sounded like a man defending himself from smoke, trying to grab something that couldn't be held. The judge listened, serious. People in the room glanced at Daniel like they were deciding what kind of monster he was. Sophia's smirk didn't disappear once. Daniel felt shame rise in him like heat. Not because he was guilty, but because everyone acted like he was. Outside, Sophia turned cruel again. She leaned close enough for Daniel to smell her perfume and said softly, "You could have made this easy if you just did what I said." Daniel stared at her. "What you said was for me to stop asking why you're gone," he answered. Sophia shrugged. "Exactly. No remorse. No softness. Just power." Daniel walked to his car feeling hollow. He cried sitting behind the steering wheel. Quiet, ugly tears he wiped fast like a thief in his own grief. He didn't even recognize himself. He wasn't a villain. He was a man being rewritten while alive. For a few days, Daniel tried to bargain with reality. He wrote long messages Sophia never answered. He called her mother, got ignored. He asked Sophia's brother to let him see the kids, got laughed at. Daniel's own aunt told him, sometimes a woman leaves for a reason, like his pain needed to be judged before it could be held. He stopped talking to people who only knew how to blame. Nights were the worst. He'd sit in the quiet apartment, hearing phantom sounds of little feet, remembering Sophia's laugh from years ago and wondering how it turned into contempt. Then something changed. Not the situation, but Daniel. He realized begging was feeding Sophia. Every time he pleaded, she got to feel powerful. Every time he tried to convince people, he looked unstable. So Daniel got quiet. Not bitter quiet. Focused quiet. He called a lawyer and asked what mattered in court. Evidence, timelines, records. The lawyer said, "Do you have documentation?" Daniel swallowed. "Not yet," he admitted. "Then start," the lawyer replied. Daniel opened a new notebook like he was back in school. On the first page, he wrote, "Facts don't care about charm." He didn't do anything dramatic. He opened a new checking account at a credit union in Silver Spring and rerouted his paycheck so bills wouldn't bounce because Sophia still had access to the joint account. He printed statements. He saved emails. He took screenshots of messages where Sophia accused him of control right after he asked basic parenting questions. He made a folder on his laptop labeled Court and another labeled Kids. He paid rent on time. He kept receipts like they were lifelines. He didn't post online. He didn't rant. He just collected the truth, piece by piece, the way you rebuild after fire. The bank statements told a story Sophia didn't want told. Charges from hotels in Tyson's Corner on nights she claimed work ran late. Restaurant bills in National Harbor for two when she said she was with the girls. Airline tickets tied to Atlanta. 2 seats, bought minutes apart. Transfers labeled with emojis that didn't belong in a marriage. Daniel's stomach turned reading it all. He sat at his kitchen table, papers spread out like a crime scene, feeling nauseous and foolish. Not because he didn't see it coming, but because he kept trying to love someone who was already gone and taking pieces of him while leaving. There was still pain, though. Evidence didn't hug him at night. It didn't tuck kids into bed. On his parenting days, because he finally got temporary time, Daniel tried to keep things light. He cooked pancakes shaped like hearts, and they came out looking like lopsided states on a map. The kids laughed until they snorted. "Dad, this one looked like Florida," one said. Daniel laughed too, even with a sore chest. He learned to put joy on the table even when sadness sat in the corner. He'd play old-school R&B while cleaning, dancing badly on purpose to make them giggle. And sometimes romance flashed like a memory that hurt. Daniel would find a photo of Sophia asleep on the couch years ago, hair wrapped, his hoodie on her, and he'd remember how he used to kiss her forehead and whisper silly stuff like, "Sleep, my queen." He wasn't ashamed of loving her. He was ashamed of how she used that love. Still, Daniel didn't let the bitterness win. He took the kid to a park in Laurel, pushed swings, listened to their stories. When they asked, "Why mommy mad at you?" Daniel swallowed and said, "Grown-up stuff. But you're safe. I love you." Sophia, meanwhile, kept performing. She told mutual friends Daniel was controlling. She told her cousins he was obsessed. At one point, Daniel heard she joked, "He probably got a tracker on my car," like it was comedy hour. People laughed. Daniel stopped defending himself to the crowd. He learned a harsh truth. Some folks don't want the truth. They want the juiciest story. When a coworker said, "Man, maybe you should have let her do her," Daniel stared him down and answered calmly, "Maybe you should let me do mine," quietly. Then he went back to work, head down, hands steady. The next hearing came, and Sophia arrived confident again. Same polished look, same posture like she'd already won. Her lawyer spoke like Daniel was a danger. Sophia kept calling him controlling with that practiced sadness. Daniel sat there feeling the old shame try to climb back into his throat. But this time, he had a folder. His lawyer slid it across the table. Bank statements, hotel receipts, flight confirmations, a timeline, even an email confirmation for an apartment deposit in Laurel. Sophia's name on the payment, another man's name on the email thread. Daniel didn't enjoy exposing her. He enjoyed being seen. The judge asked Sophia if she recognized the charges. Sophia tried to laugh it off first. "His twisting things," she said, rolling her eyes. The judge asked again, patient but firm. Sophia's face tightened, not into regret, but irritation. Like she was angry she had to explain herself. She tried to pivot back to control, saying Daniel drove her to it. The judge didn't bite. The judge's tone shifted into that calm adult voice that means playtime is over. Temporary decisions changed. Her emergency support request got denied. The court ordered deeper financial review because the numbers didn't match her story. Sophia's smirk cracked. After court, Sophia didn't apologize. She didn't even pretend. She texted Daniel, "You're evil. You just want to punish me." Daniel stayed at the screen, stunned by how someone could light a fire and blame you for the smoke. He didn't respond. He blocked her on everything except the court-approved parenting app. That boundary felt like oxygen. Sophia kept trying to shame him, writing messages like, "You're controlling because you won't talk like an adult." Daniel replied only about pickups and school. Nothing else. He learned that silence can be a kind of power when you refuse to feed someone's drama. Karma didn't arrive with thunder. It arrived with consequences. The forensic financial review meant questions. Questions meant paperwork. Paperwork meant timelines. And Sophia's timelines didn't add up. Her work travel looked suspicious. Some expenses overlapped with days she claimed she was somewhere else. Daniel didn't celebrate. He just kept showing up for his kids. Then one day, Sophia called from an unknown number, furious. "Why are they asking about reimbursements?" she snapped. Daniel kept his voice flat. "Because you said money was controlled," he replied. "They're checking." Sophia spit out, "You ruined everything," like she wasn't the one who built the mess. Soon after, Sophia lost her job, not for cheating, not for being mean, but for policy stuff, expense problems, time issues, things companies don't play about. No announcement. No dramatic escort in front of co-workers that Daniel could brag about. Just a quiet termination effective immediately. Sophia didn't become humble. She became angrier. She blamed Daniel for consequences she triggered. Her mother still talked about Daniel like he was the villain, even while asking him last minute, "Can you keep the kids? Sophia has things to handle." Daniel said yes because the kids were not bargaining chips. He didn't even correct her. He just picked them up and made dinner. Daniel's private transformation wasn't flashy. It was discipline. He got therapy without telling everybody. He learned to sit with grief without letting it poison him. He took a certification course through work, studied at night after the kids slept, and passed. He built his credit back carefully. He moved into a clean, calm place in Glen Burnie close enough for school routines. He stocked the fridge with real food and kept a small bowl of candy the kids could pick from after homework. He started running early mornings, not to look impressive, just to feel like his body belonged to him again. Peace became his new romance. The funny moments kept him alive. One evening, Daniel tried to assemble a bunk bed and followed the instructions like they were a sacred text. 3 hours later, the bed looked like modern art. His kid walked in, stayed, and said, "Dad, is it supposed to lean like that?" Daniel sighed, then laughed so hard he had to sit on the floor. He called his cousin, the one decent cousin left, and said, "Bring a drill and your forgiveness." They fixed it together, joking the whole time. In that laughter, Daniel felt something soft return, the ability to trust a little, to breathe. The moral lesson Daniel learned wasn't all love is fake. It was sharper and kinder than that. Love without respect becomes a slow kind of violence, and you can't heal by chasing someone who enjoys hurting you. Sophia never showed remorse. She never took accountability, but Daniel stopped needing her to. He focused on what he could control: his home, his boundaries, his parenting, his peace. He didn't win by humiliating her back. He won by becoming steady again, privately successful, emotionally free. And the kids noticed most. They stopped flinching. They started smiling. That was the real comeback. Quiet, grounded, earned. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.